if you're interested in being involved with the effort to get voters registered, reach out to John Weston, reach out to me, and I can put you in touch with him if you can't get a hold of him or you don't know how. I'm happy to do that for you. So if that's something that you're interested in, that's a volunteer opportunity. I know that there are several people who have been asking, what can I do to help? What can I do to help? And, besides, contacting a campaign and actually volunteering with them, we haven't had a lot of opportunities for you. So this is one that you can help with. There'll be several different ways that we can try to register voters. Some of them don't necessarily even have to be in person. So we'll be working out how that will work and then offering those opportunities to you guys. Okay, I think that that's all that the chair has at this time. I don't see our vice chair here still. Okay, our secretary, do you have anything to report?
I don't have anything secretarial, but I thought that I would let everybody know, since I'm on the election board, that the new precincts for Bartlesville have been drawn, and the election board will be sending out new voter registration cards to everyone. I can't remember the date exactly. It's sometime in the next 2 months or so. It's definitely before the June primaries. So be looking for your new voter registration card. A few people's polling locations will change.
And just to give some people, or give people kind of an idea of what has happened, have there been precincts added? Have there been precincts taken away? What's gone on?
There are 4 more precincts than there were before. Some of the main things are that precinct 22 has been split in half, and precinct, I think, 28 has been split. They've been the 2 biggest ones.
Right.
And the city of Dewey was split. It was getting too big, and so it's rearranged a little so that it's split. Those are some of the major things.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. We appreciate you giving us that information. Hey, do you know anything, just really quickly while I have you, do you have any information about any upcoming dates for filing? Have you guys posted any of that recently or no?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Okay, John, do you have anything to report this month?
No, I don't.
No? Okay. And I don't see Karen still. Nope. Okay. That is what I have for this month as far as our business is concerned. Our guest has said she'll join us in a few minutes. So if you guys want, we can take a few questions, if there are any questions right now, over anything that we've talked about so far, or if there's anything you want to bring to the group's attention. Well, you've got us. There's a bunch of us here. So if there's anything you guys want to say or discuss, now would be a great time. The floor is open. And if not, I might use the restroom really quickly. Okay, since nobody seems to be dying to chew me out or something, and that would be okay, I'm just going to use the restroom really quickly and leave Rebecca and John to kind of man the ship. I'll be back here in a few minutes. Excuse me.
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Eric, can you hear me?
I can, Linda, yes.
Okay, hi.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, gosh, but you said you need to go to the bathroom?
Well, it's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. I was a teacher. I could hold it all day if I had to. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I've been, I've got the Tulsa World newspaper, and so I read articles that's going on. And there's 2 that really pique my interest. It's lawmaker Mauree Turner out of Oklahoma City. She is filing a state question about the death penalty.
Yes.
Abolishing the death penalty in Oklahoma, which I think is really, really important. And I've reached out to Julie Daniels' office about that one. I didn't talk to Julie Daniels, to her specifically about it, but I
Right.
let her know, her office know about it. And then the other one that really, this one made front page headlines today, and that's Regina Goodwin. She's state rep with Democrat Tulsa, and she has filed 3 House bills that are, to me, are just really important. One is about the 300 million going to victims' compensation revolving fund for 1921 race massacre victims. And then 4153 about maybe a study for Department of Transportation in dismantling that that loop, I think that inner loop that's there that goes at Greenwood, in the middle of Greenwood District.
Right.
That one. And then the other one that I read about was 4154 and expanding the Tulsa Reconciliation Education and Scholarship Fund. But I think that 4152, especially that victim compensation, that one, well, all 3 of them just really piqued my interest.
Yeah.
So, and maybe you already know about it.
Well,
But
I knew about 2 of them, but I didn't know about one of them. So I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Thank you.
yeah. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents worth.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. Sure.
Anybody else have anything they want to bring to our attention or highlight?
Yeah, can I have a quick question real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Also, I just want to say thank you all so much for having me here again.
Yes,
The only thing I wanted to say is obviously one of the things I try to do with my club at the high school is introduce the younger students who would normally not care too much about politics to be interested in the subject. And something we haven't been able to do as much is talk about local politics. So that's why I try to have guest speakers as much as I can. We were able to have John earlier last semester, and it was awesome. But something I was wondering is, and I'm planning on I'm asking Madison Horn as well, but if she's not able to, would someone like you, Eric, or would you be interested, Mrs. Doris, in maybe talking about something local? Because you guys have more knowledge on the subject as me, so you could be able to explain things like the precinct thing to the children and see how that affects Barnesville and local voting and stuff like that.
Eric's a great speaker. You really want Eric.
Yeah, we would absolutely love to do that. That's no problem.
Okay.
And we could, in fact, I know that you guys meet during the school day. Is that correct? It's not an after
Yes.
school club, right? Okay. Yeah, it's no problem. Just get with us and let us know, when you were meeting and when you want us to get with you, and
Okay.
we can get that scheduled. No problem.
Okay, thank you so much. That was the only question I had.
And Thomas, in fact, I don't know if John has told you, we've discussed it. I would like for you, if you're amenable to the idea,
Okay.
of including you, the young Democrats, in our monthly meetings and giving you guys a few minutes to give us kind of an update of what you guys are doing at the high school, and just kind of what you did right now, but just making it kind of an official part of our meeting. And so if you'd like to do that, we would love to, get a peek at what you guys are doing and help in any way that we can. But, we can only do that if we know what you guys are doing. So
Yeah.
if you'd like to, we'd love to include you.
No, that sounds amazing, especially because we just found some young underclassmen, because all of the officers right now are seniors. We're all 3 friends. We know each other, stuff like that. But we just recently found some underclassmen who could be replacing us in the future. And we were thinking that, the idea you just said, that if we're going to these monthly meetings, something we were thinking is if we brought them along, then we could start this cycle in which young Democrats can officially start cooperating and working with Washington County Democrats more and more. So that would be awesome. That would be amazing.
Well, that's great thinking. I'm glad you're like 1,000 steps ahead of most people at this point in your organization. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have anything else they'd like to share? Okay, I really am gonna run off to the.
John, Madison said 7:15, right? Okay, just checking.
She was finishing up talking to another county.
I'm sure that'll wrap up real easy. We'll be patient.
Could I ask a question?
Go right ahead.
This was originally going to be someone else, the current superintendent of schools in Tulsa. I can't think of her name right now.
Joy,
But
Joy Hoffmeister.
yeah, Joy. Yeah, I'm very impressed and in a favorable way with her as a governor, a candidate for the governor. And so I understand she's not going to be here, but could you tell us a little bit about the person who we're going to hear? Just background, kind of who is this? What's she?
Yeah, and I don't know if you were here when we mentioned it earlier, but Joy is going to join us in March.
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
will get a chance.
I knew that. But maybe I got here late, so maybe
yeah.
I missed what you probably already introduced her. Maybe you could briefly just give me kind of a little idea who we're going to hear.
Yeah. Eric, John.
Sorry, go ahead, John, if you would like. I mean, Madison Horn is just running for, all I know about her is that she's running for US Senate. And when I read her website, because I'll be honest, I haven't heard a lot about her. And so I read the website and she seems to be very centrist in her views. I think, in fact, she used the term conservative Democrat on her website at least once, if not more than once. So I think that what I understood was that, she's very much more centrally located on the political spectrum, maybe more so than her opponent, Jason Bollinger. So that's kind of the brief overview that I know of her, but honestly, I don't know a lot about her because I haven't seen any ads and I haven't gotten to hear her speak. But that's what I know. John, do you have anything to add to that?
I think she has more of a rural background. I know she's from Stillwell, and I know that one of the points or platforms of her campaign is to sort of bridge the divide between urban and rural voters.
Well, you're a little hard to hear, John, just so you might want to speak up just a little.
Yeah, she's from Stillwell, and I know that she has more of a rural background, and I think that was sort of one of the points of her campaign was to kind of bridge the divide between rural and urban voters. But I think that's kind of why she's more of a centrist, is she's trying to appeal more to to bridge that gap. Okay. But I'm like you, about the only thing I really know about her is from what I've read from her website.
Right.
Who's she running against? Langford?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Well, I just have to imagine anyone's better than him.
What I remember Langford is he was standing there on the 6th of January when he was standing there trying to get a revote, or I don't know what, he was trying to impede the process. Yeah. when the insurrection took place. That's how I remember him now.
He was actually at the podium when they breached the Capitol.
Right, that's right. I watched him. So anybody, give me anybody.
Yes.
Here, I don't know, maybe we can talk, maybe. Okay. What I'm hearing about this, there's a committee right now investigating the January 6th insurrection, and that's going to continue on. But I'm also seeing in various states the implementation of the Section 3 of the 14th Amendment for people who are running for office now in various capacities for the federal government. The Constitution, Section 3, Article 14 says anybody who's participated in a insurrection cannot be put on the ballot to run for an office. And I'm hoping that that will be extensively implemented
Yeah,
in the coming elections.
it
And that
absolutely
this,
should be.
that this committee will do their job in a lawful way
Right.
to put that into practice. I'm here, I'm getting little news articles that they're really not blowing that up in big headlines, but as you read about these races that are going to be taking place this year, down in the articles, they're mentioning Section 3 of 14th Amendment.
Right.
So it's out there.
Right. Well, we
And,
can only hope they decide to apply the law.
that's right. I certainly do.
Right.
And our Constitution can deal with these people right now. You don't need any votes. You don't need anything.
Right.
It's there in writing.
Right.
And I'm so hopeful that can help clean out Mr. Langford and others.
Well,
So-
and on that note, our speaker tonight, Madison Horn, has arrived, and I'm sure she would love to tell us how she would like to sweep Langford right out of office and the things she'd like to do instead. So without any further ado, Ms. Horn, if you would, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Hey, how are you guys? One, I am so sorry that I am so late. I am trying to get so many of these virtual calls in at once, and so many of the meetings obviously have been moved to virtual. So apologies. I just left Muskogee County, and they are fiery. Woo! They are
Good.
fiery. So it was hard for me to leave, but I hope you guys match their energy. If you guys feel me excited, it's because they got me fired up, and I'm ready. Like I'm in the boxing ring. So I'm starting all over with you guys in such a lovely way. And with that, like, where would you like me to even start? Would you like to know who I am?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you want to just tell us who you are, and then, if you want to segue into what you think, we really like to know kind of the person, I think, around here more than anything. So if you just want to kind of get down to the nuts and bolts of who Madison Horn is, I think that's the best place.
Well, with that, I'm going to take my heels off because I'm in my own house, so there's no reason for that anymore. I'm the same way. I mean, I really am a very grounded person. I never intended to run for office. You guys are seeing into my home, and I'll give you a little sneak peek. In the last meeting, they all did introductions and showed their homes. So I'll share with you. My home has become my campaign office, and my team sits here. There is another 2 desks here behind me, and my full living room, and my cat. So you guys will get to know so many different levels of Madison Horn as a candidate. But, you don't want to see my furniture or that. You want to know kind of who I am. Well, I am from, rural Oklahoma. I am from Stillwell, which I hope that you guys have been to at least the Strawberry Festival before. I think it's the best festival in Oklahoma, and I hope you guys find yourselves there. The second Saturday of May, you'll see some great friends of mine and some of my family. But I hope that we do become friends and that you guys get to know me. And I hope you guys turn on your cameras because I want to see your faces so I recognize you when I do see you, whether it be in Washington County or wherever it may be. But I use that word as friends because as friends, we take on each other's hardships collectively. We understand one another. We have a respect for one another. And we don't recognize each other as human beings, but we actually have compassion and humility. And I hope that that's what we can gain together. As Oklahomans, I think that we understand struggle probably a lot more than, where our government operates in DC. And I've lived there, so I do understand some level of privilege by being able to do that. But I also came from a place that taught me compassion and love for my community and my state. When we talk about struggle and the choices that we have in life, which is such a beautiful thing, then some people take struggle and they use it as a crutch to bring people down or to create excuses. And I used my struggles to fight for people. And it took me a long time to get there, but I did realize that is my purpose in life. And I learned that through humbling experiences and, taking on this race. People have said to me, why the hell are you going to do that? You're crazy. And maybe I am, but they've also said, well, that's going to be hard. And I said, well, how hard? And they said, well, you only probably have a 40% chance of winning. 40% chance, that sounds pretty dang good. And I hope I can use the word like damn, and because that's who I am. I'm not the buttoned up politician. I am a professional and I am intelligent, but I am authentic and I'm a human being. And I'm going to talk to you that way. But when I hear those numbers, then I say, bring it on, bring it on. And I say that because in rural Oklahoma, or in anywhere in Oklahoma, a child who grows up in poverty, they have a 13% chance of escaping poverty. A child that experiences poverty and experiences abuse, they have a 6% chance of escaping that situation. I am running for your US Senator, and I have overcome those situations. Not only have I overcome those situations, I grew up in rural Oklahoma, covered in cow shit and being called Chooch because Chooch means boy in Cherokee. And that's what my grandfather called me, who is an amazing man, and I can't wait to share stories about him. But I did not have technology in that home. I was not exposed to the modern era. My education didn't show me where we are in the world and where we are today. But I lead a global cybersecurity organization. I've been to 35 countries. I have studied hacktivist groups. I have studied terrorist organizations. I have built education programs for universities to modernize our workforce. I've built integration programs for our veterans to come back and create opportunity for them. And I've done that without a college degree. I have done that as a woman within a field that only has 20% women. But not only is it 20%, only 10% of those women are in leadership, and only 1% of those women actually are in global positions. I do not tell you those numbers because I want to sit here and boast about my achievements, but I tell you that because I want you to know how hard that I work. I work every day to better myself in hopes that I can either create opportunity for others or create a place that is better than yesterday. And that is my purpose in life in general. And I know people don't get this probably nitty gritty when they meet with you as a candidate, but I want you to know who I am as an individual. What I would like to achieve is we've all gotten frustrated with where our government is today because of party politics, because of adults who are acting like children and pointing fingers. And I'm tired of it personally, and I'm sure you guys are as well. And it's time that we actually see true leadership in office so that we get to good policy. We get to good policy that is not based on privilege, and that is not just continuing to prop up people of a specific class a specific, whether it be social economic or a specific background, but we have to start creating opportunity and giving back to people that actually need it. So I know I'm throwing a lot at you, and I'm also not giving you a lot as what I stand for and issues, but I don't want to talk at you. I want this to be conversation based. Ask me questions. I can tell you right now, my big focuses are, I want to bring a modernization to government. I want to work on the economy and a modern economy. Education is critical to me as my family as educators. My father, my grandmother, my other grandmother was a cafeteria lady. My grandfather, school board president, and I also understand that what that gives to others. So that's a little bit who I am. Some nuggets, you guys can tee some questions up from there.
Listen, people always talk about who their favorite teachers are, but when you get right down to it, my favorite person at the school was always the cafeteria lady. So,
Right.
Your grandma would have been like my number one lady.
Right. She gave you some extra pizza.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start off some questions. We were talking about you, of course, before you got here, just kind of chatting about what we knew about you. And I was mentioning that I didn't know much, but that your website kind of gave the impression that you were conservative or centrist Democrat. And I was wondering if you could kind of, expand on that. What is it that makes you conservative? We have a lot of centrists in our town. And so, what is it that you believe that makes you centrist? Just out of curiosity.
No, please answer the question or ask the question. For several reasons. One, we understand the landscape in which I am running in, and we also understand where Oklahoma is. And for us to be successful as Democrats and just to see progress in the state, then we have to find a common ground. But also, the word conservatism, I think, has a nasty label because of Trump, and he decided to take it down this crazy train. But if you talk about conservative and the values of conservatism, one of the first ones is human equity. And if someone told me that today, then I'd be like, they don't freaking care about people. They don't care about equality. Well, honey, I am drinking from a cup. This is woman power. I'm joking a little bit, but as someone who did grow up in rural Oklahoma, I do have some conservative values in the sense that I believe that we need to take care of our community. I believe that we need to take care of people. I think that we need to be mindful about the way that we spend our money as a country. And we need to focus on the things that are actually going to impact people. Now, if I am looked down upon that because I am a conservative and have those traits, then I think that we can have a conversation. But I think that word and that label is what we have to get away from, because it's what's created division. And so what you see on my website is very, very, very intentional, because I'm frustrated with both the national parties. Obviously the Republican Party is going out in some crazy lands, but I also don't believe that the majority of people believe what the Republican Party believe. And I also don't believe that part of the Democratic Party is what all Democrats believe. So for me, then I'm saying, okay, I am at the center. At what issue would you like me to pull left or right? I believe in national defense. I work in cybersecurity and have fought against national states and terrorist organizations. So of course, I have a heightened interest in defense, and that means that I'm conservative. But I believe in women's rights. I believe in creating a space for the LGBTQ community. And so that makes me far left. So which one am I? And so to me, I don't know where both the parties are today that they represent me. So I represent myself, as someone who is a centrist Democrat.
Okay. There's a question that was
Yeah.
typed up that I'm going to read for you
Sure.
from Amy. She says, how would you respond to the challenge of someone who is considered diverse, whether it be racially diverse or socioeconomically diverse or physically or mentally able, how you can relate to them and be able to address their concerns?
Sure. Well, one thing, I mean, I do have to recognize that I am a white woman, and with that comes privilege. So, one, I have to recognize that, and that I will never, ever understand what it means to be a woman that is, of Latin American roots, or has African American roots, or is Asian American. I will never understand those things. But what I will come to the table with is humility and say, what are your challenges? To me, the problem collectively is that we have a hierarchy that doesn't understand struggle in life. And so they come at it from a place of just privilege and don't bring themselves down and say, hey, I've actually had to fight for things and I know how hard it is. So instead of making decisions that I think that are right for the people at my level, how do we bring people up? I'm not going to go down this monologue and, tell you about my story, but, the person that you see on my website, the woman that you see here, did not come from a social economic background of privilege. I grew up in a trailer in rural Oklahoma. I could not afford my college education. I dropped out because I had to choose to work. So while I will not be able to understand the circumstances of other racial backgrounds or other social economic backgrounds, what I can say is I understand life is hard. How can we make it better? How can I understand the things that you have gone through as a human being and have empathy and want to understand so that I can educate others and actually help that community or people that are of different backgrounds of myself.
Thank you. And Amy,
Absolutely.
if you need any expansion on that, just let us know. Are there
Yeah.
any other questions? Anybody else have a question for Ms. Horn? Go ahead and just unmute yourself and
Would like to know what your position regarding climate change is.
Hi, Irene. Thank you for the question. Well, first of all, I do believe in climate change, which I think is far more of a statement than my challenger, which is crazy to me that we don't believe in science any longer. But I don't think that it's something that we can ignore. We have to also, though, create a systematic approach to addressing climate change that doesn't create so much friction with our day-to-day lives that we can no longer operate and we don't create opportunity. And what I mean by that is, obviously, there are places within the energy sector like oil and gas that we need to get away from so that we are not continuously making a drastic impact on the climate. But we can't tomorrow say we are no longer tomorrow going to produce any type of crude oil. We can't say that, unfortunately, because we have so many people that are depending on that economy. So what do we do to create opportunity for those individuals so that we can address both of them? How do we create the jobs for an industry that is evolving while also saying, hey, we have a we have a critical problem that we have to address, which is the climate crisis. And so how do we move swiftly, but also not impoverishing people? Because at the end of the day, we want to protect this country or this globe for people. So we have to think about the two. And apologies for going into some of the weeds, but I hope I addressed your question. I got very specific, but when I normally get this question in Oklahoma, then it's climate change and talking about the oil and gas community.
Yeah, Charlie.
Yeah, you know, the oil and gas industry is important in Oklahoma, and I recognize that, and they need to be encouraged to transition to being energy companies, not just oil and gas, energy companies, wind, solar. There's a lot of good jobs in wind and solar. Upgrade the power grid. There's a lot of good jobs in that. I'm not saying knock them out and put somebody else in their place. I'm saying get them to go with us and be part of the solution to our energy upgrade that we need vitally, because that's a primary step that we need to take to deal with climate change. And they can be part of the solution. Good jobs, middle-class jobs, build our state. You know, Western Oklahoma is full of wind turbines. It's full of them.
It is.
And it's one of the prime places in the United States for wind power. And building a wind turbine takes it's a good job, and we got to get in there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Charlie, correct?
Yes, Charlie. Yeah, that's fine.
Hey, Charlie. I mean, I agree with you. You know, to give you a little bit more of my background, I work for a company called Siemens. It's Siemens Energy. So I build cybersecurity products for the energy market. And that don't be scared. I'm not like, oh, this woman's coming in because, you know, she wants to control the market for oil and gas. No. I am telling you that I understand the energy market very, very well because I work in it. And majority of large oil and gas companies, whether it's publicized or not, globally, they have said, come 2025, they are no longer producing large oil and gas equipment. And that is not the US government saying that. These are global corporations that are saying, I realize that what I am doing is creating major problems within for the climate, or for, excuse me, my words are slipping me, for the environment. So what do I do as a global citizen to make a better impact? The problem is, you know, whether it be politicians or whether it be lobbyist groups, they don't tell you these things. They say that it is a government body that is making a decision. You know, it's those terrible Democrats or it's those terrible Republicans. And so we point fingers, or we operate from a place of scarcity, of saying, well, if we take away oil and gas, then there's no longer going to be any jobs. Charlie, you addressed it. Yes, there will be.
Good job.
Absolutely. You know, in my field alone, if we talk about the medical industry, if we talk about the technology industry, there is a desperate need for a workforce, but we are not creating the educational system to actually better our workforce for jobs of the future. We are stuck, I think, you know, in this period that is similar to the, let's say, the Industrial Revolution, where we're transitioning. And it's okay. We should evolve and not be scared of it. But how do we take care of our people? How do we take care of our climate? And do so in a methodical manner.
I'm glad to hear you are a cybersecurity knowledgeable person, because that's exactly what we need in our Congress in order to deal with people who are using cyber resources to tear up our democracy.
Mhm.
Russia.
They need to be regulated. Facebook and Trump's, I forget what is, which one he goes to. What is it? What's the name of that thing that Trump used? He got kicked off of?
Twitter.
Twitter, yeah. I mean, they need regulation, and they're destroying our country and bringing in all this divisive venom, and nobody seems to know how to control them. You know, it's a big fight between the First Amendment freedom of speech and how you deal with regulating these lies that get perpetrated for the simple reason that companies make money off of this conflict, and they don't care. Facebook doesn't care. They make money off of this. They got to be regulated.
Charlie, are you reading my notes? Like, did you call into my team prior? Like, what's happening here? Did you hack me?
Tonight's the first night I've ever encountered you or anything to do with you, but you understand. I'm glad because these things worry me.
Yeah. I joke about that because, you know, people are like, why do you want to take on this crazy thing? I'm like, well, I'm frustrated. Or I apologize can I use the word pissed off?
Yeah, you can use it.
You know, when Trump got elected, I'm sure you guys can use that same word and tell me why you guys got pissed off. I said that quietly as if I'm offending my grandmother. She's not here. I got so frustrated because, one, as a woman, I have struggled and I've had my personal experiences, but I have fought for minority groups. I have fought for women's rights, and seeing him come to office, I could not come to bear that it felt personal to me that he had basically destroyed the work that I had been doing to help the women in my circles, the minority groups within my circles. And I also couldn't believe that this man is actually the person that our country elected, because I cannot believe that our country has these beliefs in this broad span. I just don't believe it. I believe that he invoked and that he woke up a group of people that felt underrepresented, but I do not believe that the people of this country are as disgusting as that man. But I was also frustrated because, you know, he created a division in our country that was similar to the Cold War, that spread propaganda, that helped extremist organizations rise. And as someone who has dedicated, 10 years of their life to fighting extremist organizations, I couldn't believe that I was seeing it here. I couldn't believe that I was seeing an increase in some of the cyber attacks that I was tracking in my own country against my own country. And so to me, I said, where is the leadership? Where's the leadership that is taking control of this rhetoric? Leaders take care of their home. Leaders take care of the organizations in which that they are set on, as well as their people. But I see no responsibility being taken. I see no true leadership. I see cowardness, who is bending because a party said that this is their decision. And I see language being used because it gets them reelected. And apologies if I am turning people off by the language that I'm using, but that's why I am running for office, because I don't see any longer leadership in our government. And I don't see people that are supposed to be the leaders making decisions based on people or the interest of our country, but I only see them doing it for themselves. And that pisses me off. And I'm going to use my finger. Hi, Linda. I see you.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I can chime in. And anyway, Madison, it's nice to meet you.
Like-
Nice to meet you over this Zoom stuff,
Yeah.
which leads me into my frustration of the COVID-19 and mask mandates and anti-vaxxers and just all of that, and the medical issues and universal medical health care and science in general, and people not believing in science. And it just frustrates me to no end. And why people don't get out there and get vaccinated and do the boosters and have their children, do the same thing that are age appropriate. Just, I don't understand it. And the Supreme Court coming down with not having, banning the mask mandates just makes me want to scream. This whole Supreme Court, to me, has become partisan. It is a Republican Supreme Court, and God willing, we will get, I know that Justice Breyer is retiring, and, onward and forward with President Biden, and hopefully the Democratic Party signing in, another highly qualified justice. I guess my question is, where do you stand on, I guess, universal health care, mask mandates, COVID-19, health science, and then also women's health, reproductive health care. And there's some other issues, but I'll just leave it at that.
Hit me. No, come on, hit me. And if we need to have a coffee night or a wine night,
Oh man,
beautiful tile in your kitchen or wherever you are.
Oh,
So talk about
thanks.
it. But to address one of your statements, I'm just going to bring my coffee mug back up again. It says,
Oh,
I'm going to answer your last question, then we'll start with all of your first and work down. So women's health, absolutely. I do believe in a woman being able to have a choice. But, your question really is about abortion. And I am a pro-choice. But I'm incredibly frustrated that, we talk about pro-life or pro-choice in such a cold manner. We remove the woman altogether. We just talk about the child, and we make it seem to be that women just want to have abortions. And that's not true. There's no woman in this world who says, hey, I'm going to brush my teeth, put my deodorant on, have my cup of coffee, and an abortion on Wednesday. That's not the logic. And the emotional distress and the things that the woman's body goes through is very traumatic, very, very traumatic. So, but what we don't talk about, because we want to play political theater, is how do we avoid that situation altogether? Why are we talking about pro-choice? Why are we talking about, pro-life? Why are we not talking about education around, reproduction, health in general? Why aren't we talking about protective measures? Why aren't we expanding access? This is 2022. This is not 1922. We understand how, we get to that decision as a society. So why don't we put measures in place to prevent that from even happening? So I am pro-choice, absolutely, I want to protect children. I certainly want to I don't want to see a woman have any abortion, 6 months in, because how awful. But at the same time, we have to think about how do we put preventive measures in place. The other things that you were talking about, believe in. Let me know, Linda, if I missed anything. I'm talking with my hands. I didn't use my notebook.
You support Planned Parenthood, right?
I do. Follow me on Instagram. They just opened a new office or a new location in Edmond. So I support Planned Parenthood. But you were talking about universal health care. You know, I do believe in creating a healthcare system for everyone that is affordable. I'll be very, very transparent. I am Cherokee. I grew up in Cherokee Nation. I went to a Cherokee school that was subsidized. I didn't have insurance as a kid or when I was in college. I went to Cherokee Nation Hospital. I had knee surgery there after I played basketball in high school. And my mom lives on their commodities, to be completely transparent with you all. So, and I tell you that, again, not as a, you know, oh, this woman gets it. No. I tell you this as we need social systems to take care of people during hard times.
Right.
And for the lack of opportunity that we haven't given people through the lack of education or the lack of access. And that's what we need to do as a government. You know, we are not a great country because we have beautiful landscapes and Oklahoma has the best sunsets in the world. Challenge me on it. Damn you, James Langford, I dare you. I'm just kidding. He will never debate me. My point being is that we have to take care of people because the country, when I say that I love America, I love the people.
Yeah.
So yes, I believe in those systems. I think there was one more question you had. Universal healthcare, mask.
Medicare for all.
Oh, and Medicare for all. So yes, I also though believe though within social systems, you know, there's that one bad apple that ruins everything, right? So how do we keep people from taking advantage of a system? Because I believe that people need assistance, but I do not believe that we need to enable them. Go ahead.
Yeah, are you a believer in the expansion of the Medicaid program and keeping the Medicaid program intact?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Okay.
The reason why I caveated it with the fact that I believe that people take advantage of systems is because people who are able, who are a sound mind, who have the physical ability to go out and get a job, they should be doing so and not living on social systems. And I do believe that there is reform that needs to be taken within our social systems, and I mean our welfare programs, to keep that from happening. But I also, like I said, believe that we need to create a safety net for people.
I was a Child Protective Services with the Department of Human Services. And, and so I understand about some of the programs that you're talking about, but I truly believe that there is mostly people out there that really, they're not trying to fraud the system. I think more people than not are honest, they're upfront. I think there's too many people out there that do not know about programs of DHS, and especially with TANF, temporary need, for families. I do believe in the child tax credit that needs to be in place and needs to be continued. I guess my other question was the whole COVID-19 and the mask mandates, and the, and getting out there and getting shots and getting boosters and how would you, I guess, educate or try to get people interested in vaccinations?
Yeah. I would answer this question probably, I wouldn't give you this, preface it, if it wasn't for the fact that we're in this social climate that we're in. The reason you even have to answer that or ask me this question is because we had a president prior who didn't believe in science, who, questioned the vaccine, who challenged.
850,000 people are dead in this nation because of how it all got started.
Politics.
And it just makes me want to vomit.
Right.
It does. Over 850,000 people in this nation are dead. Anyway, so
No, it's fine. I mean, you're frustrated.
yeah, I
I'm
am.
here for it. I'm here for it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a passionate person. So give it to me. You know, it sucks. It absolutely sucks. And there is no better word than to say that we have to convince people that this shot is going, or a vaccine, I'll say a vaccine, is going to help you and your community get back to a new normal. That sucks. That absolutely sucks.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, really hard for me to agree with mandates. And Linda, I know you're gonna be like, well, she had me until she didn't agree with mandates. But this is where I draw a hard line. I believe in the gray area. I do not believe that there is a right fit for all. But, you know, we have to talk about mandates now because of the fact that you have a broad part of the population who thinks that, you know, this vaccine, you know, it was created by, you know, who knows? I mean, that we're creating a tracking system within them, or, you know, we're not being transparent around the science, and we've created so much distrust around the communications around COVID and around the preventative measures that no one knows what is true anymore.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think before I address my approach to COVID specifically is like, we have to stop freaking politicizing everything. Like, why can't a politician, why can't our government say, hey, we don't freaking know. What we are going to try our best is say, hey, we're going to try to provide masks to everyone because we believe that this is going to help you. People will say, okay, so this is going to help my family. Cool. Let's do that. Let's do that as a first one. But where we screwed up was we said, well, it's going to be mask. Well, maybe it's mask. And, you know, anyways, I'm not going to go into that. We just have to get transparent, be able to admit when we're wrong and say that to the general public. You know, I think when you say the word mandate, you're naturally going to turn people off because people do not want government infringing on their lives. And I have to agree with it because it does create an overreach. But at the same time, I do believe in the vaccine. I'm vaccinated. I've been boosted. I wear a mask when I go out. I keep tests in my apartment, so my team test. And I tell you all these things because I believe in science.
Well, I do believe that if you think of it, if you look at it on the side of the hospitals and you look on it at the side of healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, staff, healthcare staff, caregivers, I think that they are on the side of mandates and masking. If you think of our hospitals right now are beyond anything. I think Oklahoma is one of the worst in the states for hospital admissions right now.
Right.
They can't take children that do come in. I mean, as far as pediatrics, you know, I read articles, you see it on the internet, you see it, you know, different news articles with hospitals just being beyond capacity. And I think that's what people don't give consideration to or realize, that hospital workers, doctors, nurses are beyond capacity. They can't, I don't even have words to make people understand that hospitals, doctors, nurses, medical staff they really can't, they can hardly take it anymore. Right. Because people are not listening, because people get misinformation, because people will not take the public interest at heart. People are too interested in their own little freedom. Well, freedom has to do with the public interest too. And you've got to take into consideration these nurses, these doctors, this hospital staff that are trying to save lives. and we have too much public out there of people that don't seem to care about others. And that's where I'm coming from. I'm advocating for hospitals. I'm advocating for nurses, doctors, hospital staff, caregivers that are out there day after day wearing masks, trying to do their part, trying to inform the public, and yet the public still will not listen. And that, it just makes me want to cry. It really does. It's just maddening. And so I'm advocating for the healthcare industry.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my 2 bits.
Yeah, no, I love it. And thank you for, sharing your true emotion with me, because I meet you there, but on it from a different place. I meet
Yeah.
you there from a place of talking about the teachers, because my cousin right now, she's due in April 14th. I'll be the cool aunt.
Yeah, I'm a recently new aunt.
Hey, we'll have there.
Yeah.
But she's a teacher, and she is there every single freaking day. The parents don't want their children going to school wearing masks. And, she's
get
been
that.
yelled at for asking her students to wear masks. And she's pregnant. Do you know, like, the increased risk, one, of teachers alone getting COVID is tenfold. And then the fact that she is pregnant puts her on higher risk of so many things, and also her having a stillbirth, which is terrifying. But she's still going to that classroom every single day because she loves her children. She wants to be there for her children, and she loves being an educator. And our country doesn't give any craps about her, and that is proven in the way that she has been given in pay. The fact that she doesn't have maternity leave, and you're like, well, teachers are given all these summers off. Excuse me. Yes, they have summers off, but they also have to go in for teacher certification. They have to go in for lesson planning. And so really they only have a couple of weeks off in the year, and they have sick days, but they do not have vacation days. And what the state asked them to do when she said, hey, I'm going to have a baby, then they said, well, you have 4 weeks off. If you want more time off, then you can ask your fellow teacher who may be having a baby, but you can ask your fellow teacher who doesn't have any PTO, only has their 10 sick days. You can borrow days from her. They can give you days. Yeah. So you should go beg from the people who also don't have a lot.
That's awful.
It is awful.
That is awful. It really is. And I guess with what Stitt has done as far as what substitutes and the insult that he has created, there's no.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
there's no words. It's so insulting. It's absolutely so insulting.
John, I saw you had a question.
Yeah, I have a question. Madison, you said that you wanted to see people get off social welfare programs by getting a job, right? Okay, well, I agree with that too. I think the people, should work if they're able to. But my question is this: in Oklahoma, the median income is $27,000. And we have a lot of people that work 2-3 jobs just to meet that threshold. I'm just curious, how are we going to go about, getting people off social welfare programs if they're not making a livable wage?
Yeah. Are you asking me about increasing minimum wage?
That, but also, and that's the other thing is, how are we going to get away from minimum wage jobs if we don't have an economy that supports that?
Yeah, I think we have matching.
So my other question is this. So two things, I guess I'm asking. One is, how are we going to increase the minimum wage? How are we going to get away from the $27,000 median income? But also, how are we going to say modernize the economy, which is one of the things you mentioned? Because the two ways that I see of doing it are improving infrastructure and actually have a labor pool here that'll attract industry. So what sort of things do you specifically propose to attract new industry to Oklahoma?
Before you jump in, Madison, if I could, we're running a little bit longer than we normally do. And so I just want to let everybody here know I'm recording our session right now. And if you need to leave because you've got something else going on, just know that we will be posting this to our YouTube page and our Facebook page. So you can catch any questions or answers that you might miss if you do need to go. I hope you can stay. Please do if you can. But if you do need to go, please do. I just know that a lot of people are liking this conversation, and I don't want to cut us off just because we normally end. So if you feel like you need to go, please do. And I'm sorry, John, for jumping in there with your in the middle of your question. Madison, there you go.
No, you guys are good. I hope that you guys stay. If you want to transition to pajamas, transition to pajamas, but we'll stay here as long as the questions are coming. So John Weston, I believe you were answering the questions, and you were asking questions around, you started at the fact that, I said that, people on welfare should go out and get a job. Then the other piece was, well, we have to have the jobs to actually have a livable situation where people don't have to, and I'm repeating your question to make sure that I'm getting it.
Sure. Yeah.
And so we have to make sure the jobs are there. And then you asked the question around diversifying the economy, which was a point that I made, and asking how that I see that moving forward. Did I capture all of that?
Yeah, but my question is, when you say modernizing the economy,
Yeah.
Basically what I believe is that you're trying to get at is that we're going to have to improve infrastructure here, one. And then the second thing is we're going to have an educated workforce.
Mhm.
Because let's face it, basically people go to college in Oklahoma, and unless you work in the oil and gas industry, you're going out of state to get a decent paying job.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious, what are you going to do to attract new industry here so that once people graduate from college, they can actually stay in Oklahoma?
Yeah. I love all the questions. My cat is going crazy over here. So if you see her jump across the screen, my apologies. So first question, and I want to make sure I'm saying this just to make sure that I don't sound so brash. I understand where Oklahoma is as it relates to the economy, the lack of good paying jobs here. So when I say that, there is a group of individuals taking advantage of our social economic programs, I am not saying that those people that need those programs need to go to work, and that they don't need those programs and they shouldn't have them available. I am talking about people that are making a steady income or have the ability to go out and perhaps get a good paying job and are not seeking it. That is what I'm meant by that comment. But as it relates to, your question and statement around both, diversifying our economy and bringing in new jobs, we don't have a modern workforce. And I would say that statement across the US, because we haven't changed the way that we offer education and the way that we educate our public. I think that the state has been very narrow-sighted around the way that we think about jobs in Oklahoma. We have focused on the defense industry, which these industries are needed. And so I'm not bashing these industries. Let me be very, very clear. But when a state is talking about bringing money to their state, it's not about let's create more jobs around trucking. That money doesn't stay to the state. And also, that's one industry. So how do you bring new industries here to modernize the workforce and leverage the hardworking Oklahomans? And I don't say that as a political comment. People in Oklahoma have had to freaking struggle and work with their hands and no manual labor. So if you go put them in the office, they're like, hell yeah, 9 to 10, I got this because I'm not sweating outside. And so how do you enable a workforce that is so hardworking? And to me, that is getting away from a single train of thought that you stick with the same type of economy, to your point, around just oil and gas, just around the transportation market. Why are we not thinking about, some of the higher tech, and I'm not just saying that as a technologist,
Well, I
but
think we should have more investment in vocational training.
yes, absolutely. I mean, I think you guys heard in my monologue earlier, I dropped out of college. I do not have a college degree, but I work within the professional world and I telework. The home that I just showed you is the place that I work 9 to 5, and my company is a global organization. We need to enable our workforce and say, hey, you can work from home or, go telework, whatever. But what do those jobs look like? Maybe it is a vocational job. Maybe it is a 2-year education program. And it's actually something that I'm working with OU with and a couple of other universities is like, what do cyber or technology jobs look like where it's just a 2-year program or even an integration program for veterans? Because we have such a high population of veterans here in Oklahoma. And that is not only educating a new workforce, but the existing workforce. I'm not sure if we talked about this earlier, but when we were talking about transitioning the oil and gas industry, that's part of saying, okay, well, what are the translatable skills for folks that are no longer going to be able to have those oil and gas jobs, and what do those new jobs look like? Well, wind is perfect, or microgrids are going to be a huge part of our economy in the near future. The marijuana industry is booming in Oklahoma. It's poorly regulated in Oklahoma. It's incredibly liberal, creating issues, but it is a new market in Oklahoma, but we haven't regulated it appropriately. So, I think it's twofold. It is, well, maybe three. It is creating the opportunity through the appropriate educational outlets and programs, thinking about a workforce that is already active and thinking about how you can transition them to new and higher paying jobs. You have to increase the minimum wage. That's just something I'm going to say is a must without even putting it into this workflow. But the last thing is talking about what new jobs can come to Oklahoma. We are very, very, very ripe for so many industries because of where we are geographically. But I do not believe that leaders within Oklahoma are thinking outside of traditional means.
That's where I get frustrated with Congressman Kevin Horn. I know he sold his McDonald's franchises, but from what I understand, first of all, they don't pay a living wage when you work at McDonald's, basically. And I think a lot of people realize that, but there are some people that don't have the skills to go out and get a better job. So that's the only job they can find. And then what I think is unconscionable is how he can stand up there and rail against the welfare mother who's going to collect a check out of her mailbox. But yet what they don't say is that the welfare mothers, a lot of them work, and they have to have supplemental subsidies from the government to even make ends meet. And so one of the things that they do is when they give you an application to McDonald's, is they also give you an application for benefits. I think that's completely unconscionable. I mean, how can you stand up there in Congress and say, well, it's these poor people that are causing all these problems and depleting our treasury for all these social welfare benefits, while at the same time, they're not paying a living wage to their own employees. And then the other thing is they're giving away huge amounts of money in corporate subsidies. In fact, I think they said about 61% of spending on subsidies is corporate welfare.
Yeah. Oh, there's something that I'm not going to address your question because I'm stuck on a comment that you made. So make me answer your question, but I'm also going to hone in on something. You were talking about, whether it be Kevin Hearn or other folks that are in office now being like, well, it's the poor people draining the economy. Well, are you pointing blame to a group of individuals who are working hard? and are poor? When was it a morally wrong thing to be poor?
Yeah.
I think it was Amy. I'd have to go back to the chat. I think that it was Amy that was asking about, different social economic, how would I address, different social economic groups, different racial groups. And I think there was a couple of other pieces, maybe like mental health. Why are we not, we have forgotten about people. Why are we saying, well, it's the poor people, remove the poor? Why don't we talk about it's these people that are hurting that are draining our economy? Well, what's the root cause? Why are they hurting? Have we given them an education system that works for them? Have we been able to enable them with a healthcare system that allows them to seek the education system and be a part of that system? Have we enabled them with a mental health system that allows them to operate within society? If the answer is no to any of the three, then the government is failing them, period. Yeah. That's my personal feeling. And I'm going to get passionate about it because it is, you cannot point blame to people that are trying their damnedest. And, whether it be Kevin Hearn or, James Langford, go be poor for a day. And then you come back to me and tell me what your perspective has changed. But the man during COVID, the first year of COVID, when our hospitals were overran, then he was making gourmet s'mores in his front yard for his entire neighborhood. Please tell me the cost of a freaking gourmet s'more or one s'more, and you're going to make them for your entire neighborhood? That is privilege. You have no idea what people need. No idea. Sorry.
Charlie. Oh, go ahead.
No, pardon. No, I told you I was going to hone in on one part of the statement that you said, and it was, let's blame the poor people. And you weren't saying that. You were saying that that is the conversation. And that frustrates me to no end.
Same here.
Yeah. High five.
Charlie, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Comment first and then kind of get your reaction to it. Look, there are women who have no husband. They got 2 or 3 kids. They're working at McDonald's and they're on the first shift. The second shift, they're working at Burger King, and grandma's taking care of the kids. Mom gets home at 11 o'clock, gets up in the morning. It's at 5. She's never going to get out of that if somebody don't help her. And what we need is some kind of a program where those people that are in those do loops never end, that we reorganize them. And okay, we need some people to take care of kids. We need some people to set up some training programs. And if you want to go from being a McDonald's worker to a hairdresser, you can double your salary by doing that. Do you want to go to the program? We've got somebody to teach you how to do it. And we'll help you with your bills and for whatever the training period is, a short period, and we'll take roll. And if you're not there, you're not getting your help anymore. We need a program to get these people out of poverty and get a decent wage so they can actually live a life. Yeah. And they're not going to make it without somebody helping them. And
can I interject?
Yes.
Hello. Yeah, Charlie, I just wanted to say there really is a program like that through Department of Human Services, and it's called TANF, Temporary Assistance to Needy Families, and not enough families out there know about it.
Okay, how do you
poor families out there know about it? And that's the sad fact.
How do you teach them about it? If it's there, we need to tell them about it so they can do it.
I agree with that.
So maybe that's all it's needed.
And I guess Madison, that's a question. Do you have any thoughts about getting these programs, getting the information out to people of low incomes and letting them know about these resources?
Absolutely. And I'm going to be a little bit more I won't use the word radical because I'm not a radical, but I think this
That's
is
okay. I'd love you to be radical. You're going into politics. You're going to have to get radical, girl.
no. That means I can be passionate. Radical is not what
I
we're
support
about.
radical
No. We support
to an
passion.
extent.
We support passion. We support
Yeah.
passion.
Yeah.
The reason why I say I joke really, but you know, John, I love the question, and apologies. I think it was John or Charles. Why is the burden on just the woman? I understand that we
Good one.
have a system in place that says that the other parent has to pay childcare. Great, thank you for your $5. But how does that translate into childcare? How does that translate in the number of hours that other parent has to spend being a parent? I do not have children, so I am talking from a place of just watching my godson, and at the end of the weekend, then I'm like, I love you, you gotta go home. Because I've got to take a nap. I'm exhausted, I'm checking out, I might go sleep for 4 days. And I say that because it is hard to be a parent. One, there is no manual to be a parent. I don't think that you are taught how to raise another human being appropriately. And that's a whole other conversation that we can go down a tangent to, but I'm going to stay on course. Just because a woman is the individual that births the child, so nature says she has to care for it, does not mean that the other person in the equation here is not equally as responsible. So for me, I think it's starting at the fact of equal accountability. You know, nature says that the woman has to take care of. So, naturally, the woman is going to get custody. Naturally, the woman is the one that is going to watch these children for 24 hours. And I don't mean to be cold. I'm just being systematic in my conversation. But why isn't the system set up in a way that there is equal parenting and responsibility across both spouses? That would be my starting point. And then saying, okay, what systems and what programs are in place? And let's educate, let's create awareness around these programs. But then the other piece of it is our population, you know, when someone gets married and you know, I'm at the age where several of my friends are getting married, you know, and I've heard the comment, you know, 50-50. Well, our divorce rate is 50-50, but yet we still create stigmas around single mothers or single fathers. So why is that a stigma? We cannot say that, because you're a single parent, then you are less than. If you are seeking help as a single parent, then you are less than. I'm sorry. You need assistance. You need help. We all need help. We all need help. And so we need to destigmatize this idea that everyone is out there and has to fend for themselves. And if you ask for help, then you are less than. No, ma'am, no, sir, that is not the case. You are a strong person because you use those 4 words. What do you need? What do you need? Do you need education? Do you need access to childcare? Do you need access to healthcare? For how long do you need those services? What are you doing and what can we help you to get you out of needing these services? That is the questions that we need to be asking and supporting people within our country, within our state, within our communities.
As we kind of move to wrap it up, I've got a couple questions that I have for you. You had said something that I was curious about. I wanted to ask you first, since you would be running for Senate, you know, we've had several large funding bills go through our government recently, thanks to Democrats. And there have been several Democratic senators who, have just been holding up the show, and they've been really upsetting me a lot. And they call themselves centrists, which is why the questions earlier.
Yeah.
I've got a bad taste in my mouth right now because of
Sure.
them. And so, there are things that we lost in those funding bills, like, particularly important to me was funding, some university time, couple years of college, at community college or something. These things got pulled out, and it upset me a lot. And talking about, having to drop out of school because you couldn't afford it, I'm curious, number one, where you stand on providing, university or trade school education beyond the high school level. And number two, you were talking about, marijuana being a big business in Oklahoma, but being poorly regulated. And I'm curious, to Madison Horn, what does appropriate regulation look like? Those are my
Sure.
two questions.
Yeah, I love them. Thank you. So I'm gonna kind of like back up and hinder my excitement. So, I think your first question is, and I think I scared a lot of people when I launched my website, and they're like, "Oh my God, she used the word conservative. Oh my God, there's a lot of red on this website. She's definitely a Republican. Wait, there's some blue here. She believes in people. Holy shit, we're confused. We don't know who she is and what she stands for." That's intentional. I want people to get to know me as a candidate and ask questions. We'll see how it fares. But I think it's so important in today's day and age that we remove the party, period. So know that that is what I am doing, because I want people to get to know me. But around the specific questions and your frustration around individuals holding up bills because, one, they either want to play party politics or they want to play theatrics. At the end of the day, I'm gonna tick some people off on both sides. I'm gonna make Democrats mad. I'm gonna make Republicans mad, and I am going to vote on issues. I don't want to do it based on party. Now, if it's truly in the best interest of people as a whole, then absolutely I am in. But I can't sit here and tell you, as someone who wants to remove party politics, say that I'm going to vote, every time based on the Democratic ticket. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to go vote for the crazy right garbage, but the fact that we were voting last year when Trump was in office on the infrastructure bill and we couldn't pass some of it is frustrating to me too, because I'm like, why didn't we pass the infrastructure bill then? And then now we can't pass part of the infrastructure bill either. We have to break it out. And we're to that place because Republicans don't want to give Democrats credit, and Democrats don't want to give Republicans credit. Wait, is this a pissing match, or are we taking care of people? And I am so sorry, guys, if you're offended by my language. I don't mean to be offensive. I'm just passionate. We have to get away from that. So Eric, I'm not trying to not answer your question. I'm just telling you that I'm frustrated that parties want to play with people's lives and their interest.
Right.
But I believe in the voting bill, like the voting rights bill that came through. I believe in the infrastructure bill that came through. There are parts, though, of the Build Back Better plan that I'm like, wait, there's parts of this that we need to refine, but overarching, let's go. So, but it's getting to the conversation of, okay, what do we need? Let's get down to the places that we can agree. If there's conversations around a specific bill that we're getting frustrated about before we even get to the House, let's pull those things back, pass, the 3 or 4 provisions, and then let's argue around these 4 or 5. And I truly think that's where we are as a country. Holistically, we agree on most things, but there is a 10 to 15%, and I'm making up a percentage, but there's a small percentage of where we find ourselves fighting that's holding up progress. But, go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah, so you were talking about the education. I mean, I think it's, I do believe that everything starts at education. If you don't have a good background or a good steady background and be able to create an ability to learn and allow yourself to create progress, then you're not setting a person up for success. And if college isn't accessible, then what is that individual supposed to be doing after high school? So, diversifying, making sure that education is more affordable is very important to me. When I was talking about the fact that we haven't changed our education system to a modern era, if you are in a classroom or if you are taking school virtually online, a lot of the universities, the price is the same. Why? Are you using the same resources? Are you, that alone doesn't make, and I know that's a simple thing, but it's a simple thing to talk about how can we cut cost from education from the end user, aka the student. But there is also a new workforce that doesn't learn in the traditional manner in a classroom. So why aren't we using the things that we have learned over the years around the way that people learn and reinventing education?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thomas, I've seen your hand up for a while. I want to get to you before you pass out over there.
Yeah, I was losing blood flow. Thank you,
I
Eric,
know,
for
yeah,
saving
I'm
me.
sorry.
Hey, Thomas, sorry, I didn't see
Hey.
your hand raised. What's
Oh
up?
no, it's totally fine. Hey, how you doing?
Cool.
I guess my question was going to be it's kind of expanding on what Eric was saying almost, except for I wanted to do it in a different lens. Because you were talking about how, you being a centrist Democrat, it's going to be more so you're quote unquote pissing off both sides. But in my mind, I think it's important to realize where we are. Where it's in Oklahoma. Do you think that your more, centrist Democrat, political values, do you think that's going to reach a bigger voting base than someone, what was your opponent, Mr. Bollinger, if I'm not mistaken? Do you think you're going to have more success in that regard than he's going to be able to? Do you think you're going to have more success against Langford because of that?
Sure. One, I love how sophisticated you guys are with your mics. Like, are you guys talk show hosts? What's happening over here? This is cool. So, your question is asking about my success within my race, within my approach. So, we can look at Oklahoma, and Oklahoma as a state was one of the only states that every single county went red. And same thing with Obama, right? And so what that tells me is that we have a demographic that leans very far in one direction. So if there is going to be success in this race, I am not far right by any means of imagination, So that tells me that even some of the Democrats in our state are probably leaning a little bit further right than probably maybe the national conversation. I go to obviously rural parts of Oklahoma, even the day of my launch in my hometown of Stillwell, Oklahoma, then, there are Democrats there who recognize and call themselves conservative Democrats. That label meant something very different in your grandparents' age and in my grandparents' age. And they don't agree with, they're not pro-choice. And, they bring different values to the table and different perspectives. And I want to create and open a dialogue with those individuals and not turn them off. So, I'm telling you my approach, but to answer your question, do you believe that I will be able to compete? Yes, absolutely. And there's no question about it. This is when we talk about, I'm so, I hate labels. I really do. The word conservative, Canadian politicians consider themselves conservative, but in our political system, then they would actually be far left. But it's actually their conservative party. Isn't that crazy? But it's just a different mindset. And so, what I am asking people to do is ask me what I stand for, ask me what I mean, and I am open to have the dialogue. I am not here to choose sides. I am not here to ostracize anyone. And that is the reason why, I come out so scary with the red and the word conservative, because I want to create a space. I will get off my soapbox, but to answer your question, yes, I do believe that I will have more success. And I'm going to give James Langford hell. And I will be your next US Senator, whether it be in this election or the next, because this is my purpose. And I believe that Oklahoma needs to be fired up and needs to be reminded that their voices matter, and they have damn good candidates who care, but we have forgotten as Democrats, so we don't show up. So
Madison,
let's get out.
as we end here, how can we get a hold of you if we have other questions, or if some people are like super inspired right now to volunteer with you? How can they reach out to you to get those answers, or to hop on the volunteer for Madison train?
Yeah, well, come on. We are a crazy group of fun. So this is my email. And I will also give you my website, which is,
So for those who can't maybe see the chat or don't know how to access it, it's Madison at madisonhorn.com, and madisonhorn.com is the website.
Yeah, and my email address there. So if you go to my website, then it says contact. There is also a volunteer place. But I also included my email here. It's super hard. It's Madison at madisonhorn.com. And you will hear from me. You are not going to get some automated email. It's important to me that I'm available. So reach out, send me an email, give me a day. Don't be mad, but you will hear from me.
Wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you making the time. And I'm sorry that COVID made it so that we couldn't meet in person, but I promise that you have an invitation to come up and meet us before any of the primaries, so that we can get to kind of get to know you in person if you'd like. So just know the door is still open. This isn't your only chance. So.
You mean this is not it? I just
No,
kidding.
yeah.
Well, I move around a lot with Joy. I go to her fundraisers to support her. So if you guys do meet in person this next month and she's there, then I will come. Well, regardless if she's there, if you guys meet in person, I will be there. I will come see you.
Perfect.
So
I will keep you informed, definitely. I think we've got her on the schedule for the 31st, so I'll let you know, the 31st of March. So I'll let you know if that's still on, and if so, we hope to see you. Again, thank you so very much for joining us. We appreciate it. And thank you all for your wonderful questions. It was great to see all of you and to see all of you engaged. We really appreciate it. That's all that we've got for tonight. Like I said, if you guys have any questions for Madison, don't let her off the hook just because we're ending the video. Email her at madisonhorn.com. Get those questions answered and let us know what you guys hear back from her about. Have a great night, guys. Our next meeting next month, February the 24th, I believe is what I had written down. Jason Bollinger, I will see you guys then at the library unless you hear otherwise. Have a great month, Democrats. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jason.
Bye, guys.